Welcome to Juggy Reviews. Basically, I am using this time to watch a lot of TV and work my way through the BBC iPlayer and review all the current and old classics from BBC Three in particular. I grew up watching BBC Three. It's, you know, the home of shows such as Gavin and Stacey, Being Human, but since it made that transition from TV to online, I've kind of neglected it a little bit. So I wanted to revisit and give my take on its current offerings. So first up, we have Models Street to Catwalk. So this details the journey people that want to get into the industry and people that are in the industry go through. So the peaks and troughs of that. I think it was really good because it showed how the fashion industry is changing. You know, there's more edgy, diverse looks now. Even when you look on magazine covers, you see that. And you look on like kind of Instagram and you see kind of more edgy people, more kind of diverse looks. Even like, and that doesn't mean like in terms of colour, that means in terms of hair, clothing, everything. And people want to make it in this industry. And they want to make it because it's really, really good money. And they talk about that in there. They talk about, you know, it's really good money, but does that mean easy life? Do they want to do it because they think, oh, you know, I just do a couple of hours photo shoot and then I get this much money, and that's great, but you don't realise how much work actually goes into it. And I think it kind of delves behind the scenes of the modelling industry a little bit more, which is really interesting. And how the kind of industry's changed from like kind of catwalks and magazine shoots to social media. It's all about, you know, the online fashion brands, and they want the right kind of models to model their clothes. And that's how people are making money in that industry now. And that's why a lot of the youth want to transition into that. Yeah, it just gives you the reality of the modern world. Ethan, he's 17 and he tries to try out for a modelling agency, and they debate about whether to take him on because of his criminal past. So stuff like that really does count. You know, like when I just think you go to interview and no one asks about it. You know, no one asks about like, you know, your background and stuff like that. But it does matter, it really does. I would give that a strong 4 out of 5. RuPaul's Drag Race UK. So this is a reality style talent show that sees RuPaul, who's just mega famous. You know, if you haven't heard of him, where have you been living? And he's a drag artist on the search for UK's Drag Race superstar. Now, I haven't actually watched this show, but it's been going around years, and I didn't realise how massive it is. It's like a phenomenon, and not just for the LGBTQ scene. It's like really, really popular everywhere worldwide. And yeah, I just didn't realise that. And then after watching it, you kind of get an idea why people are into this. It's got that kind of similar kind of format as, you know, your talent shows like Britain's Got Talent, X Factor, but it's just on this kind of drag scene. The contestants are quite out there, and you expect that from this kind of show, but they're out there in a good way. Like, they're quite entertaining and quite funny, like confessionals, which give insight into what they're really thinking. They do show off a bit. They show off their personalities and ham it up a bit with the kind of catty comments and everything like that. But that's all kind of in the shape of reality to make good TV, and they do. They really, really do. They get judged at the end of the show, and they got like people like Alan Carr on them, Michelle Visage. They have guest judge each week alongside RuPaul, who's the head judge. And they're actually very talented, these drag artists. Like, a lot of work goes into what they do, which I didn't realise. If you're into the drag scene, this is definitely a must. It really, really is. But also, if you're just a reality talent show fan, this is like the really like fun version of it. Like, there's no sob stories, there's none of that. It's just like good, fun, light-hearted, and it's got all the drama as well. And it's great if you're looking for an escape. I would give this 3.5 out of 5. The Mysterious Murder of Nipsey Hussle. So presenter and director Ben Zand sets out to unravel the mystery behind Nipsey Hussle's murder. He travels to Los Angeles, Crenshaw, where it happened. So Nipsey Hussle is a Grammy award-winning rapper. So I haven't actually heard of him. So when I watched this, I was totally oblivious to who he was. I didn't know what this was about. But it is really, really gripping viewing. It really, really is. It's a documentary-style murder mystery. And basically, Nipsey was someone that put the underprivileged community of Crenshaw in the spotlight. It put them on the map because he was receiving so much acclaim for his music. And then in that same community, he got shot dead on March 31st in 2019. So fairly recent. This was like last year. Ben takes it upon himself to go to Los Angeles to investigate this. Yeah, it was just really, really interesting because there's like almost a homage to Nipsey in his old community, but then that was the same place where he also got murdered. There's like a square called Nipsey Hussle Square in Crenshaw, and you know, you get like interviews with people from the community talking about talking highly of him, but then also you get Ben, you know, interviewing people on the streets and kind of just delving into that just unraveling that mystery, because it's like it taps into gang culture a little bit. You know, was it down to that? It just really, there's a few surprises along the way, and it's got great shots of the city. It really has. It's got great cinematography shots of the city, and it's just real. It's not overproduced or staged. It's just real, and you can see that. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. I would give that a strong 4 out of 5. Back to life. After being away from our hometown for 18 years, yeah, 18 years, lead character Miri returns, but can she settle back into her old life? And is she the same person as when she left it? So that is what this kind of series explores. I would say it's a dramedy, so a mix between drama and comedy. It's got a lot of humour, deep-rooted in the characters, so they've got like witty one-liners, and there's some kind of eccentric characters in there. Daisy Haggard stars as the lead Miri, and she's really funny. She plays like that kind of awkward role quite well, and she's quite relatable, and basically she's really convincing because she's a recovering addict, and she's really convincing as that, but also she's got that kind of, yeah, readjusting side, that kind of oblivious humour side. So it's got a good mix of that. It delves into the whole of going back to living with the parents, you know, when you're older. Maybe, you know, a situation's occurred in life and you have to go back. So it's, you know, how do you navigate that? Is it seen as a failure? Then all them questions that you naturally would ask or think people would think. I did enjoy it. It's got undertones of deeper issues which it explores throughout the series, which I like to add a little bit more to it. But yeah, it's really good comedy, and I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. Hot Property is a show where one young dater and host young Philly, who's known for his comedy and entertainment videos on social media, snoop around the homes and meet the mates of 3 potential suitors for this young dater. So it's kind of a new, fresh take on the tried and tested dating shows for that kind of youth audience. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite fun. I thought it got straight to the point. It reminds me of kind of old school vibes. It gives me that kind of street mate feel, which I feel is lacking from a lot of dating shows at the moment. Young Philly is great as the host. He's got really good energy and builds a good kind of relationship with the dater, which is like really important. It kind of brings him out of themselves. And one of my favourite parts is when, at the beginning, he asked the young dater, you know, what they want from a person. And it taps into that whole thing. Is this generation too picky? You know, they want this, they want that. They want, you know, they want to bond on a common level. They want looks. Should they be? Is that rightly so? Yeah, they should be picky. They've done this in their lives. Why not? Or, you know, old school where they just kind of put up with it. So it kind of delves into that and touches on the kind of online dating culture as well. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. Hayley Goes Sober. So this is where Hayley Pierce attempts to go sober for 4 weeks to explore that growing teetotal trend. Now, first of all, I didn't know there was a growing teetotal trend. I noticed that some of my friends and a lot of people are quitting drinking now because of how that whole anxiety thing. So where, you know, the hangovers last a couple of days, but then also that anxiety of what did I do? You know, some people go blackout when they're drunk. You know, that kind of, oh, I texted an ex. That whole kind of dynamic. And a lot of people don't want to feel like that because hangovers can last like a week nowadays. And it taps into that whole binge drinking culture, you know, where people don't drink at all during the week, but then on the weekend they go hard or go home, which Hayley says is something that was her life before this kind of show that she done. So, you know, people, when they go out, they go out. So it does explore that and tap into that. Why do the youth do that? It's, you know, Hayley, it's a big test for Hayley. She goes through quite a journey on it, and it goes into benefits of not drinking and why people do drink and how that actually makes them feel. You know, is it a form of escapism? And it leads you to ask the question, could you do it? Could you go sober? I mean, I don't think I need to. I'm a bit of a binge drinker, but I don't know if I could or want to do it. But it does kind of lead you to kind of answer them questions. I think it's really good for that youth audience. I found it quite surprisingly interesting, and I'll give it a 3 out of 5.